In this lesson, you will learn the difference between the present simple tense and the present continuous tense, which is also called the present progressive tense. In other words, you'll learn the difference between saying I work or I am working. So this lesson is part of a series created by Ingvid to help you learn all of the English verb tenses. Now, I have created lessons on each of these tenses separately, and maybe you have already watched them and now you're watching this, which is great. Or you can watch this lesson and then you can go on and watch the other separate lessons so that you can go into more detail if you wish. So, both of these tenses are basic tenses. However, they don't exist in all languages, and maybe they don't exist in your language. So pay a little more attention, and as you do, you will understand easily the differences between these tenses. So, shall we begin? Let's go. So, the present simple tense sounds like this. I work. The present continuous tense sounds like this. I am working. So what's the very basic difference? The basic difference is that I am working talks about something that's happening right now or something temporary that happens for a short time. I work, present simple, talks about something that's true in general or something more permanent, something that lasts for a long time. That's the very basic difference, but we're going to be looking at all of the really specific differences between these two tenses. But first, let's see, what does this tense even look like? What does it sound like? Let's see that. So with present simple, we basically take the subject plus the verb. In this case, our sample verb is work. So it would sound like this. You can say it after me if you like. It's good to repeat things out loud, helps you to feel more comfortable and get used to using it yourself. So we would say, I work, you work, we work, they work. But here we have a difference. He works. We have to add an S there. She works. It works. Okay? Again, once you've studied this tense in detail, you will know all of these changes perfectly. But I'm just giving you an overall view. When it becomes negative, it becomes he does not work. Or if it becomes a question, we would say, does he work? All right? So that's the basics of the present simple. Now let's look at present continuous. Now here, what happens? We have a subject, I, you, he, they, etc. plus the verb to be. We need that helping verb here. Plus our basic verb, which in this case is work, plus ing. So it's a little bit longer because we have that helping verb in the middle, plus we have ing at the end. Okay? So how does this sound? I am working. You are working. We are working. They are working. He is working. She is working. And it is working. All right? So that's the basic positive form of it. The negative form would be just to add a not. You are not working. He is not working. And if we shorten that, it becomes he isn't working. And if we make it into a question, change the order, we would say, is he working? Are you working? Are they working? And so on. Okay? So that's the basic structure of the two tenses. And next we'll be looking at when to use them. So we use these two tenses in different ways. Let's understand now what they are. So in the present simple, we would say, for example, I live in this building. This is my permanent residence. This is where I live all the time. So we use present simple. I live. In present continuous, we might say, I am staying at a hotel. This is something temporary. It's not all the time. It's only for some time. So here we have I am staying, which is present continuous. Here we have I live, which is present simple. Permanent, temporary. Next, we could say he plays the guitar. This is true in general. It means he knows how to play the guitar. He plays, present simple. Here we could say he is playing the guitar. That means he's doing that right now. He is playing now. As soon as we say he is playing, even if we don't use the word now, this tense already means that it's happening right now. Okay? So he plays in general, but he is playing the guitar means it's happening right now. Another example. We watch the news at 9 p.m. We watch, okay? This is to talk about a routine. Every day we watch the news at 9 p.m. All right? So that's to describe a routine, something that happens regularly. Or we could say, here, we are watching the news. We are watching means what? In this case, again, it's happening right now. Okay? We are watching the news. Call us later. We're just watching the news. Happening now. But every day we watch the news at 9. Okay? So that's a routine. That's again something that's happening now. See the difference? Let's look at another one. The sun sets in the west. The sun sets. Okay? Sun rises in the morning. The sun sets in the evening. This is just a fact. Okay? So we use present simple to talk about facts. But here we could say, look, how beautiful. The sun is setting. The sky is all orange and pink and lovely colors. So this means the sun is setting, means it's happening right now. All right? So here it was a fact. The sun sets in the west. It's just a fact. And here it's happening now. So these are the first few differences between these two tenses. Now here are some more differences. In present simple, we would say, the price rises every year. This is something that happens in general. In present continuous, we might say, the price is rising this year. This is a trend. This is the general direction in which things are changing. So, here the price is rising this year, but the price rises every year. Okay? This is present simple. Next, suppose we want to talk about a habit. We might say, she always takes the bus. She always takes. But here we might say, she is always complaining about the bus. So when you're talking about a negative habit, then we can use present continuous. But if you're just talking about a regular habit, then you would use present simple. All right? Next, we could say in present simple, the flight leaves at 7 p.m. Now, why do we use present simple for that? Because it's a regularly scheduled event, right? The flight leaves at 7 p.m. That's the schedule. It always leaves at 7 p.m. But in present continuous, we might say, the flight is leaving. The flight is leaving means what? The flight is leaving right now. Okay, and we know that because we have is leaving. Here we had just leaves. Okay, and now here's something where both of these tenses can actually be used for the same purpose, but in different ways, with different language. So we could say, for example, even though this is the present simple, and even though this is the present continuous, until now we have been talking about present uses. But let's look at this example. This is different. The flight leaves at 7 p.m. tomorrow. What? Rebecca, really? Leaves, present simple, and tomorrow? Yes, we could say that, and we do say that sometimes. Why? Because it's kind of connected with this one, because it's a regularly scheduled event, right? Then we could use it to talk about tomorrow. Okay, and sometimes we do. So we could say the flight leaves at 7 p.m. tomorrow. And it's kind of connected to this idea of the schedule. All right? But similarly, you could also say the flight is leaving at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Again, you're saying, Rebecca, really? This is present continuous. Why are we using it to talk about the future? Because we can. We have a special use where we can use present continuous to talk about something in the future, but you have to say something like tomorrow, next week, next Monday, next year. You have to give the time, because if you say the flight is leaving at 7 p.m., what does it mean? It's leaving right now, or a little bit in the future. But if we say the flight is leaving at 7 p.m. tomorrow, then we know for certain it's in the future. And yes, we can also use present continuous along with a few other ways to talk about the future. There's one other really important difference between the present simple tense and the present continuous tense. And that has to do with the kind of verbs we can use with each tense. So one way to divide verbs in English is to see whether it's an action verb or whether it's a stative verb. An action verb is something that has action. For example, run or jump, or sing and dance, read and write. These are all action verbs. And action verbs we can use in the present simple tense, and we can also use them in the present continuous tense. For example, I could say she runs, as in she runs every day, or she is running, like she's running right now. But stative verbs are different. Stative verbs describe a state or condition. It could be a mental state, it could be an emotional state, it could talk about possession, it could talk about certain senses. And there is a list of stative verbs which you need to learn when you're studying English grammar, because most of the time we cannot use the stative verbs in the continuous tenses. But with the present simple, you can use all the verbs. You can use the action verbs and you can use stative verbs. No problem. All right? So, for example, we can definitely say, he knows them, or we like them. Knowing being something mental, and like being something emotional. All right? So, with present simple, use any verb you like. With present continuous, be careful. Definitely you can use the action verbs, but if you are not sure about the stative verbs, avoid them. As a general rule, be careful of using any stative verbs with the present continuous tense. Now, we're going to practice by looking at some mistakes, and you are going to help me correct them. Number 1. Someone says, "Look, it snows." What's wrong with that? Well, it's happening right now, because you're saying, look at what's happening right now. So this should not be "it snows," which is present simple. It should be what? It is snowing. Okay? Because it's happening right now. Number 2. She works in the Tokyo office this month. What's wrong with that? It's wrong because it's temporary. So what should it be? Not she works, but she is working. Okay? All right. Number 3. We are making websites. Let's suppose somebody asks a company, what do you do? And they answer, we are making websites. That's wrong. Why? Because that's their permanent activity. That's their main activity. It's not something temporary. So what should they say? They should say, we, not this, but we make websites. We make websites. We manufacture cars. All right? Like that. Number 4. He gives a presentation now. You know that's wrong. Why? We even have the word now. So if it's happening now, it needs to be in which tense? The present continuous tense. How do we change this? We get rid of gives and we say he is giving. He's giving a presentation now. All right? Good. Number 5. Unemployment goes down this year. Unemployment is people who are out of work, who do not have work. But it's saying this year. This is what? This is a trend. This is a way that things are changing. So for that, we should use not present simple, but present continuous. So this one will be unemployment is going down this year. Okay? Excellent. Number 6. They are always going to bed at 11. What's wrong with that? Well, is it a bad thing? Is it a bad habit to go to bed at 11? Or is it just a habit? Well, I think it's just a habit. So in that case, we cannot say they are always going to bed, but we just say they always go to bed at 11. If it was a negative habit, then we could have said the other way. Number 7. Are you liking chocolate cake? That's wrong, but why is it wrong? It's wrong because this is a stative verb. And we said that with most stative verbs, we cannot use the present continuous. So, instead of all of this, we have to say, do you like chocolate cake? Present simple with most stative verbs. Okay? Present simple, with all stative verbs. And the other one with just a few stative verbs. Number 8. Now look at number 8 and number 9 together. Okay? Let's try to understand when we use which one. Number 8 says, what are you doing? And number 9 says, what do you do? What is the difference between these two? So, what do you do means what is your job? What is your profession? What do you do for work? And what are you doing means right now. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm watching TV. I'm reading the news. Okay? So, if you confuse the two, that's a problem. So, if you meet someone at a networking event or a party or a conference and you want to get to know their profession, their work, it would be wrong in that case to ask them, what are you doing? There, you want to know the second one, what do you do? But in number 9, if you call up your friend and you ask him or her, what do you do? That would be wrong because you want to ask your friend, hey, what are you doing? All right? So these two depend on what you mean. and who you're talking to and what it's about. And accordingly, you will use present continuous or present simple. And the last one here, she is living in Brazil. That's wrong. Why? Because we don't have any information to tell us that this is temporary, so this is probably permanent. This is what happens all the time, or most of the time. So it should be not present continuous, but she lives in Brazil. Okay? Excellent work. Excellent work correcting them and thinking through them. Most important, because that's what you can do when you're working on them by yourself. Now, we'll finish up by filling in the blanks with the correct tense. So, I've written the verb that you need to use in the blanks at the beginning of the sentence. So, let's read the sentence so you understand what you need to do. Usually, I something tea, but today I something coffee. Can you tell which one needs to be in present simple and which one needs to be in present continuous? In this case, in the same sentence, we need to use both of the tenses. So which one goes where? Are you ready? Let me help you out a little bit. Usually, I, yes, drink. Because this is usually, most of the time, okay? Usually I drink tea, but today I will use the contraction. I'm drinking coffee. Okay? Very good. Number 2. Now the verb is start. Usually he blank work at 8. But today, he blank at 9. What should it be? Usually, he starts work at 8, but today, he is starting at 9. Okay? Very good. Number 3, listen is the verb we need to use. Usually, we blank rock music, but today we blank jazz. Usually, we, yes, listen to, we need a preposition there. Usually, we listen to rock music, but today we are listening to jazz. Okay, you've got it. And number 4, usually they blank rice, but today they blank noodles. Use the verb make. So, usually they make rice, but today they are making noodles. Great. And you are making a lot of progress. Okay? So, where do you go from here? Well, if you'd like to review these tenses or learn these tenses, you can watch the full lesson and the class that I've created for each of these tenses, the present simple and the present continuous. So you can certainly do that so that you really understand them very deeply, when to use them, how to use them, and so on. And if you feel quite confident and comfortable and you got most of these right or all of them right, then you're ready to move on to the next tense in our series, which is the past simple tense. And if you'd like to do a little quiz on this, then please go to Ingvid so you can do that. So, congratulations, and I wish you all the best with your English.